Happy Monday, everyone. So just a little bit of information before we get started with our Pilates class today. One, if you are new to Pilates or recovering from an injury, please make sure that you keep it at your own level. Don't feel like you have to do an option just because I give it. Please feel free to take a step back to a lower level or just have a rest, especially if something really doesn't feel right for your body today. Another thing, I apologize if any cats come and join in. I've got three, so they tend to like to join in whenever the mat goes down. If you have a block, go ahead and grab it. If you don't have a block, that's fine. You can use a pillow, like from the couch, a towel, a blanket, anything like that. Sometimes just for a little extra cushion for the head. If you have sensitive knees or maybe wrists as well, you might want to have some extra cushion, again, a pillow or maybe a blanket if we do any things on hands and knees. Obviously, I can't see you, so please do make sure that you work to your level today. And also, if you do have any questions, just pop them underneath this video and I will try to answer them. So we will go ahead and get started. We are going to start standing up. I'm just going to make sure that you can still see me when I stand up. Nope, you can't. All right, so let me just tilt this up slightly. There we go. I might have to adjust it as we go, but that should be good. Okay, so we'll start by setting ourselves up. We're going to start with our feet and kind of work our way up to our head. We'll start by just having our feet all the way together. So big toes together, little toes together. We're going to take a little rock back onto the heels. Not so much that we fall backwards, but enough that we can open those toes out towards the corners. Okay? Then from there, we're going to lift the heels, so bring the weight into the toes, and line those heels up behind those toes. Okay? So ideally, we would like to have a nice sort of straight line, toes pointing forward, heels pointing back. If the toes turn out slightly, that's okay as well, as long as the knees follow them. From there, we'll take a nice little rock forwards and backwards. I can't remember if I said or not, but today's class is going to be about 45 minutes. So just let the weight settle into the middle of the feet here. Think about big toe, little toe, and heel, pressing equally into the mat. Okay? Okay, it's a little bit harder if we're on carpet, but we just want to make sure that the weight's not all the way in the heels and it's also not too far forward. We want a nice equal weight between the feet. We're going to give those knees a nice little wiggle to make sure they're relaxed. And then as we breathe in, we're going to think about lengthening the legs, but keeping that sort of relaxed bend around the knees. So we don't want to be here. We just want to make sure that we're not locking those knees out. And if we have a quick look down, just make sure that those knees are pointing towards our second toe, okay? We just don't want them to do this, okay, which is what they like to do when we stand quite a lot of times. From there, we're going to move up to our pelvis and our hips, okay? So we can just take a moment and kind of notice what our tailbone does. You can probably all see that mine tilts back quite a bit. I have a quite arched lower back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that tailbone forward, okay? If it's the opposite when we stand and ours kind of points forward, then we'll just draw it back. If we're not quite sure what our tailbone does, we can take a few tilts forward and backwards, kind of like we did on our feet, just taking the weight back and then forward. And our aim is to get our tailbone to point straight down to the floor, which should elongate the lower back. It might even start to switch on those abdominals. Okay? So, we've got the feet where we want them, the knees, the hips. We're going to now engage those core muscles a little bit. So what we're going to do is imagine that we have a line. Okay? Our line is going to start at each of our hip bones, and we're going to draw that line across. As it meets in the middle, we're going to find a point below our belly button, and as we exhale, we're going to draw in behind that point. Okay? So it's a little bit lower than the belly button, between the hip bones. All right? Take a nice big breath in. Make sure we can still comfortably breathe. But we want to take that breath into the lungs and the ribs so that we can keep these muscles here switched on. Okay? So our breath now is going to be wide instead of down into the belly. Okay? Now once we have those muscles switched on, we want to keep them switched on. We're going to use our inhale and we're going to lift our ribs away from the hips. So just think about creating some space between the ribs and the top of the hip so that we're standing a little bit taller. Okay, now once we've done that, we're just going to roll the shoulders back. Or if we prefer, we can lift them up and down or forward and backwards, just whatever feels good for those shoulders. Let the arms be nice and heavy. Good. And the next time that we breathe in, we're going to lift those shoulders up to the ears. We're going to roll them back and slide them down. So the chest is now nice and open. Now if we felt the hips go when we did that, just take a moment and just put them back where we want them to be. If we're really struggling to roll the shoulders back, think about taking the elbows to the back of the room, and that should help roll the shoulders back and open the chest. Our chin is going to come parallel, so we're looking straight ahead. And this is going to be our Pilates position. Okay, so this is sort of how we want to be in line, whether we're standing, sitting, laying, wherever we may find ourselves. Okay? So let's just start by warming up the joints, especially if we've been working or if we've been sitting. We'll get them nice and warm before we do any of our exercises. So we're going to start with our shoulders. So nice and easy, we're going to breathe in and just let the arms float up to about shoulder height. Good. Keeping the shoulders away from the ears. And then we're going to breathe out. We're going to release down. Okay? We're going to breathe in and lift. And as the arms lift, the shoulders relax away from the ears. We can start to come a little bit higher if we want to, as long as those shoulders are still away from the ears. As we breathe in, it's just like those arms are floating up as if they were attached to balloons, and then floating back down. We're going to do 2 more like this, just starting to warm up through those shoulders a bit, and we'll make this the last one, and release. We can give those arms a little bit of a shake if we want. Alright, so from here, we're going to bend our knees a little bit more, but keeping the heels on the floor. And we're going to reach down to the side, start to warm up through the spine a little bit. We can either keep the head forward, or we can look over that top shoulder, or even over the bottom shoulder if that's better for the head. So the head can just look wherever is the most comfortable. We can get a little bit of movement in the neck if we want to look side to side. Or we can just keep it forward in line with that spine. Okay. And we're going to do 1 more to each side. And we'll bring it back up. Alright, so we're going to do a little bit of a balance now. Then we'll do a couple more things for our spine. And then we're going to come onto our mat and we'll get started with our exercises. So, if we need to hold on to the wall or a chair or something like that, we can go ahead and step off of our mat if we need to. All we're going to do is shift our weight slightly into 1 foot. I'm not going to do left and right because I think my video is switched. So just shift the weight into 1 foot and we're going to lift our other heel. We should feel these muscles here start to engage a little bit more, start to work a little bit more. So make sure they're still switched on. We're going to lift 1 leg up. We're going to extend the leg. It can be flexed or pointed through the foot, depending on how we feel. We're going to bend that knee and place that foot back under the hip. We're going to try the other side. So we're going to breathe in to lift, breathe out, do whatever we want with the foot and the ankle. Breathe in to bend, and breathe out to place it down. Okay? So this doesn't need to be fast. It can be nice and slow, using the breath. And we're just moving from side to side. Now what we want to think about as we place the foot down is lifting up through the ribs here. So there's not such a big shift from side to side. There will be some shifting. We won't be able to stop it. But we want to try and take out as much of that movement as we can. Good. Now the next time we do that, we're going to lift the knee. We're going to take it out. We can either keep the leg straight for a little bit more of a challenge or bend the knee. we're just going to circle that ankle. Good. So that if we've kind of let the foot relax while we were doing that, we get a little bit of movement through the ankle. Good. And we're going to release. One more time, lifting that other leg. Go ahead and straighten it first to warm up through the knee. We can keep it straight if we want to in circle, or if we prefer, we can let it bend. And the other direction. Good. So from here, just step the feet wide. Okay, doesn't matter, just a nice comfortable distance. We're just going to start to turn the hips, lift the back knee. We're just going to turn the hips and the chest from wall to wall. If you have space, take the arms up. If not, the hands can come down to the sides or to the hips, wherever feels kind of good. Okay? We're not going to do too big of arms today because I know a lot of us might not have a lot of space. We'll do one more to each side, and then give everything a really good shake. And we're going to step to the end of our mat. Okay, whichever end we want. Let me just slide mine. Mine slid a little bit into our nice sign here. Okay. And we're going to roll down. We're only going to do a couple, just to warm up through the spine. Right. So for our roll down, we're going to bring our feet back to hip distance apart. Okay. We're going to bend the knees, and with this one, we're actually going to tuck our tailbone. So we want to take that tailbone and move it forward. So we elongate that lower back even more. Keeping the muscles between the hips switched on, we're going to bring our chin to our chest. So the top of our spine, the bottom of our spine already start nice and rounded. Hands can come onto thighs if we want, and we're going to roll it down. Now a lot of times people will start to look forward to the end of the mat. What we want to do as we roll down is keep looking towards that belly button. And then when we can't see the belly button, we'll just kind of look between the thighs, between the knees, and we'll just come down as low as we can comfortably go. Doesn't matter how low it is. To come up, we're going to lift that belly button, so making sure we're engaging between those hips. Retuck that chin into the chest, and bring it back up slowly. Again, hands can come to thighs if we need a little extra support. Okay. As we get to the top, we'll take a little roll with the shoulders and lift. Take one big breath in and out here. And then we're going to go again. So big breath in, big breath out. We bend the knees, we tuck the tailbone, and we draw the chin to the chest. The shoulders are rolling forward, but they're not lifting to the ears. And the knees are keeping that same distance apart as they have been. Okay, so they're not rolling in towards each other. So once we get down to the bottom of our roll down this time, we might want to shake our head, yes and no. Or we might want to find opposite elbows and really let that spine extend. Or, if it's comfortable, keeping the knees bent, we might just want to sway that upper body from side to side. Or if we don't like any of those things, we can just go ahead and come down into our child's pose. Okay? So, wherever we are, we're going to start to make our way into that child's pose if we're not already there. So let the hands come down to the mat. We're going to walk them forward until we can bring the knees down. Let those knees open as wide as comfortable. And we'll just take a nice stretch back in our child's pose. So we'll just hold here for a couple of breaths. Just want to make sure that everyone can still see me when I get down onto my mat. So I'll just shuffle the camera down a tiny bit. Okay, so for our first exercise, we're going to go ahead and work on the back of the body a little bit. And I'm actually going to turn around because I think you'll be able to see me better. We're going to walk forward onto our belly. Now, if we have a block, we can go ahead and grab it or a pillow and place it under our head if we want a little extra cushion. Or if not, we can just let the forehead rest to the mat. Okay? Now, with our arms, we're going to be a cactus. Okay? So our elbows are in line with our shoulders, and there's a 90-degree angle in the elbow, okay? So just be careful not to bring the elbows in too close. We want them quite far away, but not up here, okay? Just in line with the shoulders. So we're going to start nice and easy. First thing we're going to do is just make sure that that belly button is lifting away from the mat, by engaging between the hips. Keeping the arms where they are. We're going to take a nice big breath in. We're going to lift the chest and just look to the end of the mat. We want to be careful that we're not looking forward because that puts a lot of pressure here. And we're going to release it down. Now, we are not pushing into the arms to lift. We're using those back muscles, using those glute muscles, and then releasing down. Okay? Now, if we do want to add a little bit more of a challenge, we're going to make sure that the feet are staying on the floor, and we're going to lift one elbow, okay? And then bring that elbow down. We're going to breathe in. We can lift the other elbow. Make sure that belly's still lifting away from the mat. Or we might, if we're feeling really good, try to do both arms. And then release all the way down. Okay? So we lift on the in-breath, and we release on the out-breath. We're going to keep going with a few more of these. And what we want to think about here is that the feet stay on the floor. So make sure that the toenails are on the floor. Okay? Otherwise, if the feet lift, the glutes are working too hard and the lower back's not working as much as we would like it to. Okay? So whatever option we've chosen, whether it's no hands, one arm, two arms, we're going to do two more. So we're going to breathe in and breathe out. One more, make this the last one. And release. Good. So if we don't have a block or anything, we're just going to stack our hands under our forehead. If we do, we'll let the forehead rest on the block and let the hands just rest next to the block. We're going to do one of my favorite exercises. So if you've ever done a Pilates class with me, you've probably done this. Okay? So we're going to lift our feet up and we're going to open our knees wide. Okay? So we're aiming to take our knees to the edge of our mat. Some of us might be able to get them off the mat. From there, our feet are going to come together. Okay? Try to get the soles of the feet together and not just the big toes and the heel. Okay? Now, we're going to now get to squeeze our glutes really, really hard. And we'll try one foot at a time. So we're going to lift one knee off the mat as we breathe out and then release it down. And then the other knee is going to lift. And if that feels okay, we might try pressing those feet together and lifting both. Okay? So once we've seen what our grasshopper looks like, we're going to relax that head down. We're going to breathe out to lift, breathe in to lower. Okay? It doesn't matter how high the knees lift. Okay? They may not lift, but if they feel like they're lifting, the glutes are squeezing, then that's what we want. Okay, we want to feel this in the glutes. And the lower back is still going to be working here. Okay? Now, we're going to lift up and hold the next one, no matter if we're doing one leg or two. And we're going to do 8 little lifts. So, here we go. We're going to lift 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, relax. Okay, have a little wiggle. Okay, if we're doing single leg, we're going to lift the other leg. If we're doing both legs again. Here we go. Big breath in, big breath out. Relax the head, lift. And little lifts to finish for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And bring the knees down, bring the feet down. Walk them back in. If it feels good, take a little rock from hip to hip. Ooh, those glutes should be nice and warm now. So we're going to let those hands come under the shoulders. We're going to press up, open those knees, I'll wiggle forward so we can see, and sit back in child's pose. Okay, just let that spine stretch in the opposite direction here. And if we want, we can take a little rock with the hips if it feels good. Have another breath there in child's pose. Then we're going to come around and have a seat. If we want to grab some water on the way there, we can. And I should have said, please make sure that you do get water anytime that you need it. Okay. We're going to start with our feet about hip distance apart. Now, if we feel like we need to have something under the hips, we can roll up our mat or grab our blanket or pillow if we need to. Okay, because our aim here is to sit nice and tall. And if we feel like we're leaning back around it, it might just mean that we need to just place a little something under those hips to help us sit tall. Also, if we have, if we're on a hard floor and we've got a pointy tailbone like I do, we might want something under it just to take some of the pressure off when we roll back. Okay? So we're going to take our arms forward. If we want to make it a little bit less challenging, have the hands behind the legs. With those muscles between the hips engaged, we're going to roll it back. So just nice and easy, take it about halfway down, look towards that belly button, and then we're going to roll it up, relax the shoulders, sit nice and tall. Exhale, roll back. Now we want to make sure that we're not lifting the feet here, so those feet are going to stay on the floor. Okay? We're going to do a few more of these, then we're going to have the option to add on if we want to. Because why not? It's Monday after all. Good. So we'll make the next one, our last one like this, if we want to add on. If we want to just continue here, we're going to just continue here. Otherwise, we're going to lift one leg, and as we roll back, we're going to stretch that leg out, and then we're going to place it back down. Okay? Again, we're looking towards the belly button as we stretch the other leg to make sure those muscles are engaging and pulling towards the spine. Okay? We're going to go out. And if we're feeling a little bit more adventurous, don't take that foot down, pull the knee in, lift the other knee, and we might want to try both legs out, and both legs in. We might not. We might want to try it with the hands back here. We should feel this in those muscles between the hips. Breathe out, breathe in. If we find we're breathing the other way, that's fine as long as we're breathing. Let's do 2 more. So those of us that are doing single legs can do 1 more on each leg. Good. We're going to come up. If the feet are lifted, bring them down and just hug those knees. Okay? We might have felt that in the hip flexors as well, especially if we were lifting the legs. So that will have worked those hip flexors as well as those muscles between the hip bones. Good. Stretch those legs out. Give them a nice shake. Okay? And from here, whichever way we are facing, we're just going to roll to the front to come onto our side. Again, I'm not going to do right and left because I think my camera's flipped and I don't want to confuse anyone. So we're just going to come down. All right. First of all, we're going to line up those ankles with our hips. So make sure the feet aren't too far back. If they're slightly forward, that's fine, but we don't want our ankles behind our hips. It causes the lower back to arch. Okay? Then we're going to line up our hips and our shoulders. So again, we don't want our shoulders forward or behind our hips. Our bottom arm is going to come in line with our shoulder. And I need to scooch forward so we can relax the head. Or grab whatever it is that we have, put it under the head, take the arm forward. Okay? As it's our first session together, we're going to go nice and easy today. We're just going to lift and lower the top leg. So we engage here. We're going to flex the foot, and the toes should be pointing towards the forward, not up to the sky. Okay? We're going to lift up as we breathe out. We're going to breathe in and release. If we want to have the toes pointing down towards the floor, that is fine as well, as long as they're not turning up. And that's only because then we work slightly different muscles. We're just lifting up and lowering down. If we do find we're a little bit wobbly, we can use the fingertips on that top hand, but we don't want the whole hand because then this tends to happen. So just the fingertips. We're going to lift up next time and we're going to circle. So we're going to do a circle in one direction, circle in the other direction, and then release that leg back down, little rest. So we're going to breathe up. We're going to breathe in and circle one way, breathe out and circle the other way. And breathe in. My cat's just giving me really funny looks. Lift, circle, circle, and release. Let's do 2 more like that. Circle one way with the in-breath. Circle the other way. Now keep engaging here to make sure those hips are not rocking forwards and backwards, especially in those circles. Now this time we're going to lift, we're going to hold. Because why not? We're going to take a nice big breath in. Little tiny lifts. Lift, lift, lift. We should be feeling this. Good. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, take that top knee, let it come onto the floor, or hook it from behind and pull it into the shoulder. Oh, give it a little bit of a rest. Woo. A little rub if it needs it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the same on the other side, just so that we don't get confused as to which leg we've done. Okay, so line up the ankles and the hips, or take the hips slightly forward if we arch in that lower back. Also think about tucking the tailbone here. And we're going to line up the hips and the shoulders, stretch out the arm. If we're not sure about the hips and the shoulders, a really good way to figure out where we are is just to make sure the shoulders and the hips are the same distance away from the front of the mat. Okay? So once we've got that nice long body, we're going to make sure that top hip is directly above the bottom hip, so not rocking backwards or forwards. And we're going to lift and lower. Exhale it up. Inhale it down. Now lift the head. Make sure that the toes are pointing forward or down. And then relax that head in line with the spine. Okay, so we should be looking straight ahead, not down towards those feet or that chest. We breathe out to lift. We breathe in to lower. And as you can see, my leg is making a nice little sort of game show sweep to show you the website to donate to the NHS if you would like to and you are able to. Okay? So let's go ahead and add the circle. So we circle one way, circle the other way, and then release. Make sure to breathe, keep engaging between the hip bones because that will help keep the hips from rocking forwards and backwards. And use the fingertips if we need them for balance. We'll do this one and then we'll do one more just to make sure we've done the same number on each side. And then we're going to release. We're going to lift up one more time. We're going to hold. Nice big breath in. And let's lift little tiny lifts at the top of our range of motion. We've got 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, when we are ready, we're going to come onto our back and hug our knees into our chest. Again, I'm just going to go the other way because there's slightly more room the other way. We can take a little rock from side to side if we want to. Just going to get my knot out. Let me check the time. All right, so first thing, let the feet come down to the floor. Now we're going to be doing a few ab exercises. So if we want our block behind our head, we can go ahead and place it there, okay? Yeah, as soon as I lay on the mat, you know. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to warm up those abdominals really quickly, make sure they're switched on and working. So, taking a nice big breath in, we're going to breathe out, we're going to exhale, engage between those hip bones. And we're pressing the lower back down towards the mat. It doesn't need to be flat on the mat, but we just don't want it arching and lifting away. Okay, we want that nice long spine that we found back at the beginning of class. Once we're there, without the lower back moving, we're going to lift one knee and we're going to bring it over the hip. So make sure it doesn't come too close in. We want that nice 90-degree bend. The other knee is going to lift to make sure that the lower back's not moving here. And then we're going to bring one foot down and then the other. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So the other leg starts first. So breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out to take the first leg down. And in to take the second leg down. Okay? So we'll do a few more of these. Don't worry about staying with me. We all breathe differently, so you might be a little bit faster, a little bit slower. That's absolutely fine. What we're going to focus on is keeping that lower back pressing down and not lifting away. Okay? So the next time that we have both knees lifted, we're going to hold if we can. If we can't, we're really struggling to keep the back down, place one foot down. Okay? Make sure those knees are over the ankles and the feet are not anywhere except in line with those knees. As we breathe out, we're going to stretch one leg away and breathe in. Okay? Same thing with the other leg. Stretch it away, so just a single leg stretch. If that's a bit much, feet on the floor, and we do the same thing. We stretch away, and then we stretch away. All right? So that's all we're going to do for now. Just single leg stretch the leg away. But if we want to, make it a little bit more exciting, the next time both knees are over our hips, we're going to take the fingertips behind the ears and we're going to lift the head. Okay? Reach the hands to the outside of the shins. And as we stretch one leg away, we're going to take the arms overhead and let the head come down. There's a sign in my way. Breathe in and come back to our starting position. Okay, so this does not need to be fast. The slower we go, the more we can control it and the more work we get in that core. And it's also easier to make sure that lower back is where we want it. Okay? If that's a bit much, what we can do is just do the opposite arm. Okay, so we've got lots of options here. We can do the arms as well if we have the feet on the floor. Okay, that's absolutely fine. So just pick the level that works best for wherever it is we are today. And we're going to do 4 more. So we've got 4 and 3. Make sure that that leg that stays over the hip is not pulling in when we do this. Last one. And give those knees a hug. Oh, let me check the time. All right. Plenty of time. Alright, take those feet back down to the floor. And we're going to do a little bit of work with our obliques. Okay? So we're going to do a twist. So we'll take the fingertips either in front or behind the ears and keeping those elbows nice and wide. So when we lift, try not to bring the elbows forward. We're going to lift the head and shoulders, and our aim is to keep the head and shoulders lifted. Okay? All we're going to do is take one hand, reach to the opposite knee, and then back to the center. So we're just reaching to the outside of the knee and back to the center. Our aim is to keep the head and shoulders lifted in the center, but of course if we need to, we can put them down and lift from there. Okay? So we're just going to reach across. If we want to make it a little bit more exciting, because it's Monday, we can lift the leg and reach for the outside of the ankle and then put that foot back down. So it just gives us a little bit more of a lift because we're reaching for the ankle and not the knee. So we have to lift a little bit higher. Wherever we are though, we're going to do 8 more. 7. Keep breathing. 6, and engage in between those hip bones. 5. Last 4, 4, 3, last 2, 2, last 1. Now, let the legs stretch out long. If you have the space, stretch the arms overhead. If not, grab opposite elbows and let the elbows drop to the floor or as close to the floor as possible. Step one foot in and then the other. If we do have anything behind our head, we are going to take it away for our next exercise because we're going to do some bridges. Okay, so just place it to the side and we can grab it again when we go to stretch if we want to. So we take those feet back to hip distance apart. Our hands are just going to relax next to our hip, palms up, just so that we don't press into those hands. Shoulders relaxed. Take a nice big squeeze with that booty. And we're just going to lift, okay? And we're going to hold here, right? So just take those hips as high as they'll comfortably go. Our head is looking up, so we don't want to turn it from side to side, just to keep that neck nice and happy. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in and release the hips sort of maybe kind of halfway to a third of the way down. And then we're going to squeeze and lift. We're going to release down as we breathe in and then squeeze and lift. So what we're doing is just release the squeeze on the glutes and then squeeze back up. The muscles between the hip bones stay switched on the whole time. Okay? We're going to make this a little bit more fun. Okay? So release halfway down. We're going to do 3 pulses up. So we're going to go 3, 2, big, release. So small, middle, as high as we can, release. So 3, 2, 1. Keep those knees in line with the hips, so just make sure they're not opening wide. Let's do 2 more. 3, 2, 1. And last 1. Now hold at the top here. Big breath in. To finish up, little tiny lifts. 8, 7. So it's not a very big movement. I lost count, so we're going to do 4, 3, 2, 1. All the way down. Alright, now just take those legs up into the air, flex the feet just to release through the hamstrings a little bit. Bring the knees into the chest, just release those glutes a little bit. We will give them a nice stretch. So let's start with the hamstrings. So take one foot to the floor. Take the other leg into the air without the hands to start with. And just sort of point and flex the foot. Maybe circle the ankle a few times. Doesn't matter how close the leg is. Just take it to wherever is comfortable. And let that foot relax. Now from here, try to stretch that leg and make it as long as possible. Even if it's out here, that's fine. Okay. Now keep that length on the leg. And we're going to flex the foot. Okay. If we don't feel a stretch in the back of the thigh, bring the leg a little bit closer, but try not to bend the knee to get the leg closer. Okay? The longer we can keep the muscle, the hamstrings, the better stretch we're going to get. Right? Now, if we feel like we're here, kind of rounding, then just take that block, put it back behind the head, or maybe release the hands. And if we want, we can stretch that bottom leg out. Just take some nice deep breaths here. We want to feel that nice stretch in the back of the thigh. They work really hard in our grasshoppers and our bridges today. Now as we release this leg, we're going to take the foot down. So same thing. Bring the other leg up. Just circle or point and flex the foot for a couple of breaths. Just release through the ankle. To move into the stretch, let the foot just relax. Okay. And then we're going to just stretch that leg. Make it as long as it can be, even if we have to take it a little bit further away. Flex the foot now. And then if we want, we can draw it closer. But try to keep that leg nice and long. So as long as we can. And make sure that hip bone's not lifting. It doesn't actually get the leg closer. It just lifts the hip, unfortunately. But we can stretch the bottom leg away if we would like a bit more of a stretch. And just take some nice deep breaths. Keep pulling those toes back towards the knee. And make sure those toes are pointing to the shoulder. Sometimes the foot likes to sickle. So just make sure the knee and the toes are pointing towards the shoulder. Now, from here, we're going to lift the other leg up. This leg that's on top, we're going to bend it and just bring that ankle above the knee. Okay? Once we're there, the bottom leg is going to bend as well. And we're going to use this knee to push the ankle closer. Okay? Now, if we do want to reach through, that's fine. But this bottom leg is still helping. Okay? We don't want to take all the weight of both legs in our arms and shoulders. Okay? Or if we want a little bit more of a stretch, we wiggle around. We can take our forearm and gently push that knee away. Or even bring it closer if that gives us a better stretch. Just see how we feel. Okay. Release the legs back up into the air. Flex the other foot, cross it over. So first things first, use the knee to find the stretch. Then we can use the arms. We just don't want all that weight of our lower body in our arms and shoulders. Okay? And then we can use the same arm to give a little push or a little pull, whatever makes that stretch a little bit better. We're going to release, bring the knees back into the chest. Have a little rock from side to side. And we're either going to roll to one side and come up to sitting, or we can have a little rock up to sitting, however we want to get there. We're going to have our feet out in front, but this time we want our feet and knees together. We're going to reach behind the knees and grab our wrist. Okay? If we don't want to grab wrist, we can grab our fingers. And we're going to round. So imagine we're going to try to roll back onto our back. So we're going to tuck the tailbone, we're going to roll back, we're going to tuck the chin into the chest, and we're going to relax the shoulders. And take some nice deep breaths into the back of the body. So if we feel tight in the lower back, take those breaths into the lower back, or if it's the middle back, or the upper back. And try to really relax those shoulders. And then we're going to come up and release. And now to finish up, we're just going to sit comfortably. So just whatever position we're comfortable in, we want to be able to sit nice and tall. So we might want to have the legs out, legs wide, feet together, whatever is our most comfortable position. From here, we're going to take a nice big breath in, lift the arms up, and just relax. We're going to breathe in again, try to sit even taller, so reach the top of the head up to the sky. Relax the shoulders away from the head. One more time, breathe in. Breathe out. Just roll out those shoulders. Give them a little bit of a shake. Shake out the legs. Shake out the spine. And we are done. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any requests, just put them under this video or send a message or anything like that. And I'm back on Thursday. Thursday at 11, I'm going to do Zumba with you. And I think we're going to alternate Thursdays between Zumba and bar. So we'll see how we get on. If people prefer one to the other, then we might just keep that. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week and the sunshine. And if I don't see you on Thursday, I hope to see you again next Monday. Thank you very much.